Greetings, class. I hope you're at the point in reading your book and taking notes where you're feeling the need, the desire to start putting this into document form, and that's what we're going to cover in this video together. Now, if you haven't had time to read the section of the style guide that covers book reviews, I'd encourage you to go ahead and pause this video and go over and do that. It's section 3 of the style guide, and specifically look at section 3.4, which covers the 4 sections of the book review. Now, those are pretty standard sections, but the details give you a lot of good ideas. So as you're going through your notes or as you're finishing the book, it will help you in preparing an outline for the document that we're going to put together. Now, obviously, it's going to begin with an introduction and conclusion and end with a conclusion. We're not going to cover those in this video together, but I think there's sufficient details in there, and you can feel free to email me if you have any questions about those sections. But we're going to cover the 2 core sections here, the summary and the critical evaluation. Now, the summary is described there in the style guide, but I just want to make 3 quick points about that. First of all, your summary needs to focus around what the author has focused around. In other words, the purpose and main point of the book. Hopefully you've identified that, you've seen how parts have fit together in relation to that, and you should use that to center your summary around. Now the summary, taking a step back here, the summary is you talking about what's in the book. It's not you giving opinion, it's not you giving any analysis, it's just covering what is covered in the book to give your reader an idea of what's going on here. So you'll want to center that around the purpose and main point that the author is making. Similarly, it's helpful to work on number 2 here as well, the related works in the field. Now, let's say, for example, we were doing a review of Wayne Grudem's systematic theology. If you'd only ever read one systematic theology, you might not know how to review it very well, so you might want to go to the library, get a couple other off the shelf, and just compare them, even at a surface level. For example, if you took another popular one out there, Erickson, you would find that, well, Wayne Grudem actually tends to quote a lot more Bible verses than an Erickson, and then that might give you some ideas for your critical evaluation later on. But also, Wayne Grudem ends each chapter with a hymn. Well, that's an interesting piece of information to write down. And so comparing books to others in the field will give you ideas for your critical evaluation. It will also help orient your reader who may have read some of those other works and could make those comparisons on their own. It will help you know what to include in your summary. So, but those 2 things are going to be relatively minor. They're not going to take up a lot of space. Number 3 here is what's going to take up the most space, summarizing the argument. Now, be sure all of your summarizing needs to come back to this purpose and main point. Don't be summarizing parts of the book and wasting a lot of space on things that are not that relevant to the purpose and main point of the author. We want to keep this laser focused because we don't have a lot of space. So summarize the argument, think about how many paragraphs you want to do that in, and connect each of them back to the main point in some way. So that's the summary. We're pulling together a basic overview of what's in this book so the reader gets a good feel for that. And again, there's more details in the style guide. What people tend to have more trouble with is actually the second section, the critical evaluation. Now, the critical evaluation is explained well in the style guide, and first of all, the style guide is going to give you a lot of good questions to ask. And asking good questions is what leads us to decide what we should critique and what we should not critique. It's going to help you make sense of your notes. You've taken a lot of things in your notes and don't feel like you need to include all of your notes into this section of the paper or even into the summary. Things are just going to have to be left out. But you took those notes and you learned from that process of taking notes, but don't include all of your notes into the book review. Okay, so be sure to see the style guide to get some good questions to ask as you start thinking through doing critical evaluation. But hang on a sec. What is critical evaluation? This is something we really need to talk about because it's often misunderstood. First of all, it's not just listing things you agree and disagree with in the book. That's related, but that's not going to be the essence of critical evaluation. It's not just talking about things that you liked or disliked in the book. And really, this is the one that trips people up the most. it's not giving a more detailed summary of the book. Now, you may have to do that. You may have to go a little bit more detailed on certain issues when you start evaluating them. But don't think of the critical evaluation as the place to go back and put in all those more detailed things that you took notes on in your summary section, okay? The summary's been done. It's all been related back to the purpose and main point. But down here, we're going to choose a few points from this whole book that we are going to evaluate. Now, let's make sure that we also think through the last point here as well, reviewing positive and negative. You may have overall loved this book and thought, I want to write a positive review. I would encourage you to consider some more critical or constructive things that you could say about the book as well, because this is, again, going to engage your thinking and make this a better review. Maybe you didn't like the book at all. Again, it's always good to try to find something positive in the book that you can say. So consider those things, and then as you craft your paragraphs, one of the writing tutors at our writing center presents a workshop every semester, and she does a great job of laying this out in the workshop. And one of the things she says is, for each point, have one paragraph. Start your paragraph with a topic sentence. Then move into presenting evidence from the book. Remember I said in the last video, you need to come up with good examples. The examples that you came up with will be the evidence for your topic sentence. You may say, this book helps writers learn how to use illustrations well. That may be your critical evaluation, but then you need to present some evidence from the book that it actually does that it actually does help you be a better illustrator when you're writing. And then finally, you should end your paragraph with some sort of conclusion about why that's actually important. So again, include some sort of topic sentence, put your evidence and analysis in the middle of the paragraph, and then end your paragraph with a statement about why it's important or why it's valuable. And so then that's going to make up each paragraph of your critical evaluation. Probably you'll only have space for about 3 or 4 of those. So this isn't going to be a huge thing. Just choose a few points, some of them positive, some of them negative, and then go ahead and craft a paragraph about each one, and then you'll move into your conclusion. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me, but hopefully this gives you a good overview of these 2 main sections. Again, summarizing everything in relation to the author's main point and purpose in the book, and then again moving to evaluating a few points and not just giving more detailed summary, but actually analyzing those points and presenting basic arguments. So I hope this is helpful, and I look forward to seeing your reviews in a week.